A connection to oneself empowers. What does that even mean? A connection to oneself empowers. That was the statement, or that is the statement that I've come up with since I've been thinking about the reasons behind why I paint. Why do I paint? Why do I paint? Why do I paint? Why don't I sculpt? Why don't I take photographs? Why did I not go on to be a nurse or a doctor or a teacher? Why paint? That question had me stumped for quite a long time. I didn't understand exactly what it was that kept me coming back into the studio time and time and time again. And I began to think to myself that only an idiot would do something over and over and over again without actually understanding exactly what it is that they were doing, or what the purpose is for doing what they were doing. For me, it wasn't simply about creating these beautiful vases filled with flowers, or painting landscapes, or painting these animal portraits. It was so much more than that. But what was it? These questions had me going around for quite a while. It kept me it was something that I'd never really thought of before. And when it came to me putting out a About Me page on my website, initially I did feel like what I had written could have been written by any artist. It wasn't personal. It wasn't personal enough. And that was because I didn't actually understand, for me, for my own reasons, why I paint. It took me a lot of journaling, lots and lots of writing to get to the bottom of those reasons. And really, ultimately, it was getting to the bottom of who I am. Like, it's all those questions that we have, all those questions that we have right from, when we go to school and we start even asking ourselves, or I guess it's a question that we're asked right from, I guess it's our first, from when we start going to school, is what do you want to be when you grow up? Who are you? What do you want to be? We can only answer those questions, or those questions without an answer, when we're not sure about what it is that drives us, or what it is that brings us joy or happiness or excitement, or how we actually feel. Like, what are the thoughts going on in our head? And why do we behave the way we behave? We can only do that. We can only come to an understanding or have answers for these questions when we know who we are. When we can answer all those questions about what does bring us joy. I've lost my train of thought a little bit. Is it questions you've asked yourself? Like, why do you do what you do? What brings you joy? What brings you happiness? A connection to oneself empowers. For me, I realized, or I remembered, that feeling, that first feeling that I had when I allowed myself just to paint with no expectation of the outcome, but just simply to paint, to explore my feelings, for those feelings that I had inside me, for me just to paint them out, if that makes sense. And the way in which I do that is by just painting, getting the lines down and using color and just lines that have no intention. They have no intention but to simply be. And then creating something beautiful out of that. When I'm in that process of just painting, I'm forming a deeper connection to my feelings, to what I'm thinking at the time. I'm painting in the colors that I love. I'm painting paintings that make me feel good. I can only paint what I think what makes me feel good, what makes me smile, what brings, what brings me joy. And talking about it is a very big thing in this, for me, in a connection to oneself empowers, because I believe that through my artwork, through this understanding of exactly what it is that I do, and talking about it means that it potentially makes you think about those things as well and empowers you in some way. Having an understanding of these things that has come to me through my art practice has meant that I have felt empowered. I felt empowered to use my voice. I've also discovered that my own experiences is what makes me unique and enables me to paint what I do from my own unique perspective as well. And it's exactly the same for you. And that's why I talk about when you fall in love with a piece of work, it's doing exactly the same thing for you as what it does for me. It's giving you an understanding of what it is you love, what brings you joy. Unless you're after putting paintings on your walls that have the opposite effect, to make you sad or angry. It gives you insight into who you are. It evokes your memories and your desires. A connection to oneself empowers. I hope I've explained that well enough. Otherwise, I'll keep coming back until the message is clearer.